Hi, and welcome to the Growing as a Family podcast. My name is Joel.
And I'm Clarice.
And today we get the honor of hosting our first guests on the podcast, Dan and Paige Lathrop.
Thank you for coming on.
Yeah, of course.
Thanks for having us.
They have been longtime friends of ours, and we aspire to be in the position where they are at. They have been married for 22 years, going on 23, and they have been homeschooling for 12 years. So,
Yes.
And you've homeschooled 2 of your kids?
The only 2 we have.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah.
But we're really excited to do this episode because we want to homeschool in the future. So this will be a fun episode to look back on.
And it's really cool because I was homeschooled,
Yeah.
and so we were friends with your kids as well as my parents are friends with you guys, and so just kind of coming full circle and hearing the story from both sides.
Yeah. And I was public schooled, so I need all the wisdom I can get. Please help me.
Yeah.
So just maybe a little bit to our viewers, who are Dan and Paige Lathrop?
Go ahead.
So I am a wife and a mom, and we have our oldest daughter is Isabella, and she is 20. And then we have a son, Noah, who is 16. And we are part of our church, really involved in our church, really enjoy that a lot, serving.
That's awesome.
Many, many years volunteering in the homeschool community, pouring in doing that, just teaching my children at home and continuing that even though they're 20 and 16. There's still training to do.
Never ends.
Nope. Never ends. And just love to just work in the house and enjoy doing other things outside of the house too. I love to be outside and
That's
be
awesome.
in nature. But
That's awesome.
yeah, how about you?
Yeah. Well, I'm a husband and a homeschool dad, which if you would have asked me 22 years ago when we got married, if I would have ever uttered that statement, I would definitely say no.
Wow.
So, yeah, I'm very proud of our children in the direction that their life has taken as a result of homeschooling. And I know we're going to talk about that. But I love to teach. I love learning. So just kind of education is kind of in my blood and who I am. And so to watch them grow and love to learn even now as an adult and one very, very close to being an adult, it's been a real joy and a privilege. And it's also been a real joy to watch Paige homeschool and be mom and teacher and the joy that has brought her over the years too.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And I know, Paige, you have an awesome story, probably for a different podcast, but how our families kind of became more connected and as friends. But that's awesome. I'm super glad. I'm super excited to hear from you guys about your experience homeschooling and growing and leading your family. So that's awesome.
Yeah. Well, I guess our first question was, how were you both personally educated growing up? Because, he was homeschooled and I was public schooled, but yeah, I'm curious.
Yeah, I was public schooled. I graduated from public school in the late 90s. And then I went to a public university too. That was where our paths kind of differ a little bit. Went to public high school, but then did some private college. Anyway, so public university for me. So I've just been a part of the public school system kind of for the entirety of my educational career. So again, as I mentioned, homeschooling was never really on my radar.
And we both went to universities to get degrees in education.
Right.
We both graduated as teachers.
Yeah.
So he was a secondary and I was elementary.
Yeah.
teacher.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So we were steeped in the public education. We didn't really think there was anything. I hadn't even heard of homeschooling
Really?
when I
Okay.
graduated. Yeah. I don't-
Pretty much no. And if I had, it was just really weird.
all this typical stereotypes
how I
kind
felt.
of was
Yeah.
how you
Right.
and
Yeah.
I literally had not even heard of anybody being homeschooled.
No.
Yeah.
Me either.
Wow.
Very foreign to us at that time.
Yeah,
That's so interesting. I would
that's
have
really
thought
interesting.
a different answer.
Mhm.
So did you ever teach or no?
I did, yes. I taught for like 2 and a little bit more years, right? I was like trying to do the math.
Yeah.
And then our daughter was born in November, and so
Okay.
when I left after that, I was planning to come back, and as soon as I had her, I was like,
Couldn't
there
do
is
it.
no way I'm going back
Right.
to work. I am done. So I still was in the public education system. I was doing work through the school system that I had been employed at, but I was doing it when he was home from teaching. Then I would go and do like after school, summer,
Sure.
just different tutoring, just different connections like that, just to supplement our income. But
Nice.
I was done in the classroom at that point, home with my daughter.
Had your time.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And Dan, what about you? Did you ever get to teaching?
Oh yes. So I taught for about 10 years total. Then I was an administrator. I was principal. My work now is still working with a lot of public schools, some private too, and some independents. I work with charter schools. But I've been affiliated with the public school basically my entire life in some way, shape, or form.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. And so, like, explain that shift then. If if you were in the public school system, why did you decide to homeschool your kids?
Well, it's a story that starts with her.
Yeah,
It's her,
that was
so,
me.
Yep.
So I was home with our children. At that time, we only had Isabella, and I was a part of a local MOPS group, a mother of preschoolers group. And there was a mom in my group who had children who were older. She had some that were the same age as mine, but also ones that were older, and she was already starting to homeschool. And so she was sharing with me about what that was and just kind of introduced it to me. And I just thought it was the most fascinating thing I had ever heard. And I didn't know how it was possible. I just wanted to learn everything. So I kind of had gone over and just asked her to show me, like, what is this that you're even doing? And how do you know what to teach? And where do you start, kind of thing. And then just thinking through the logistics, like, how would we be able to afford this? We were not believers at the time, and we were super irresponsible with money, very worldly. So we were super broke. Extremely broke, beyond broke. And I remember as I was talking with her, and she could just tell how much I wanted to be at home with my children, that I remember she said, I was lamenting about how we have sand in our yard. Well, we need to put down black dirt and put grass in, and we cannot even afford that. Like, how am I going to homeschool my children? And she said, are you raising grass or are you raising souls? And I was like, wow. Yeah, where are my priorities? And I didn't even know the Lord, but I just felt like this was not good to my spirit. Like, it just didn't feel good. And so I just kind of kept learning from her. Isabella was still really young at the time and wouldn't have needed education decisions at that point anyway.
Right.
And then when she was old enough to go to school, she was very sensitive and just she really enjoyed being home. We were pretty inseparable. And it was torture the first time when we had to send her to school. She was so sad. It was
really
weekdays were so hard on her. She just came home absolutely miserable. And so we ended up sending her part-time to kindergarten. But then I knew that the next year was going to be a big decision. So I talked with Dan about it, and he was like, no, there is no way. We are not homeschooling. That's crazy.
Wow.
And so we sent her to first grade, and it was so miserable. It was such a long year. We had Noah at that point, and Noah cried every single day that she left. Just sobbed.
So sad.
He would hold on to her little backpack and not want her to leave. And we would take her to school, and it was so sad. And so it was, I didn't even know the Lord, and I just was like, okay, I'm just going to start. All I know is that these friends I'm making in MOPS are like, you should pray. So I just started praying that God would change his heart. And I brought it up again in second grade. It had been just so rough. She would come home and just be sobbing at the end of the day about all these hard things she would see her classmates go through. And we basically get her at home, and by the time we got all the tears dried and fed her dinner and gave her a bath, she'd go to bed. And so we were basically not seeing her at all.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I was like, this is no life. I didn't have children for this. And so right before Christmas, or maybe it was right around Christmas break, I just one last, and he had told me over, no. And I was just like, would you please consider this again? Like, is there any way we could bring her home? And he said, you have till the end of the year. And then if you don't prove to me that this is best, she's going back to school at the end of the year, and I don't want to hear about this again. And so I was like, okay, I'm going to prove it. And within a matter of a few weeks, it wasn't, I don't even think it was months. I think it was literally a matter of a few weeks.
Yeah, I mean, just
He
the
was
change in her alone and her demeanor
Wow.
from every day being just a war and an emotional roller coaster in the evenings.
And me going to battle with the school,
Right.
just everything was just
Sure.
So that alone was enough of a selling point. And it only got better from there, really. I mean, it was just
at the end of the year. He was like, "She will never
never
go
go to
back
school
to
again.
school."
That's awesome.
I was like, "Thank you, Lord." So Noah never went to school, and Isabella went part-time kindergarten, full-time first, and then halfway through the year, second grade, she came home forever.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, just as an add-on to that question, it just, to me, it was a really powerful illustration. We weren't walking with the Lord at that time, but at least as faithfully as we are now. But just the power of a praying wife. And I've heard many instances of people talking about where mom wants to homeschool, dad's not on board. So wives, don't underestimate the power of praying for your husband and praying for God's will to be done in your family. And it was a powerful,
I can't imagine where we'd be if
Yeah,
that
right.
hadn't happened.
Wow.
Yep.
That's crazy.
It's so cool how it was all orchestrated through God, and how he played a role in your life. And
And you need your spouse on board, because what are you gonna do? Be like, I'm
100%.
keeping him home.
Yes, yeah.
He's gonna know, and you're so.
Well, and it's if you're capable of it and you have the wherewithal to do it, these are conversations you should have before you get married.
right.
So that
That
you're
would
on
be
the same page from the get-go.
That would be helpful.
Our relationship was so tumultuous before we knew the Lord that it was not even something that would cross our minds to even think about.
Right.
So whereas, you guys are obviously being very intentional about having those conversations now,
For sure.
which is really, really good because you're on the same page.
Yeah. I think that was one of the first few conversations that we had. Me being homeschooled, I was like, this is something that I want to do.
He's like, are you willing to?
Yeah, I where do you sit with this? Because, if I'm going to spend the rest of my life with you, I want to know something like that. And you were like, I'd think about it. I'd think about it. And
Yeah, well, the world, I feel started going downhill.
Oh,
I was way more open to it,
Oh, yeah.
but fearful. I feel
Right.
to also not be enough.
Which I'm so grateful that you have such a growing mindset of I don't know about homeschooling. It kind of scares me, but I would like to learn, and I would like to, grow in that. It's so cool to me.
It's amazing.
Not backing down.
Sure. So what are your thoughts on how private school compares with public?
And are there any other
Yeah.
good options out there besides homeschooling these days?
Well, I do feel like we have some good insight into public school system because of us going through it for our entire lives, and then Dan being in the public school system
For sure.
for so many years. And it is shocking and terrifying what has happened in the public school system. It is not a place I would ever send my children. We actually even stopped attending events that were larger events that would, that parents would be invited to, that we used to come and support him. Just as a leader of the school, we stopped even attending those because it was just it was just not a healthy environment. I just didn't want our children to be influenced by even those types of things. So we would definitely not recommend public school to anyone. And
I guess what I would say, if I just want to piggyback on that, is I mean, as somebody who's worked in public schools forever, I want them to be good. I want schools to be strong and be good, but the stone cold reality is that the values that are there right now are anything but biblical. It's like completely counter of anything you'd ever want for your children. If you're raising them in a Christian home. And there are some Christians who are like, well, my kids are going to be missionaries. We need to get them out into the world, and they need to be the good influence. And just to be very blunt, I think those parents are kidding themselves. Like there's a 0% chance that they're going to be able to have the impact that they think that they're going to have when they're young and impressionable. Because when you think about it, as adults, are we any good at that as adults?
Yeah.
Until you're way more mature in your faith, no,
Yeah.
you're not.
Right.
And so for 7-8-year-old children to be expected to be,
Or even 16.
or even exactly, to be missionaries, for lack of a better word,
Right.
it just, I think you're kidding yourself. So I mean, I want public schools to be good, but the reality is, as Christian parents, just they're not even an option.
Right.
I've heard that excuse a lot of like, my kid's gonna be the light in the school. Like, it's all gonna, be dark if they're not there. And I think it's kind of just an excuse. Like, you don't want to put the work in, or you don't want to quit your job or something.
Yeah.
I think.
Well, something that I've learned over time and have thought about a lot is that I think many parents, and even Christian parents, and this again might come across as harsh, and I don't mean it to be, but a lot of parents have completely given the responsibility and the duty for raising their children to other people.
Yeah.
The school is going to teach them, youth group is going to give them their spiritual growth, and that's backwards from what God wants. God wants you as parents. He's given you that duty and that responsibility, and you need to be the primary teachers of your children.
Right.
Yeah.
That's really kind of how we feel too about Christian schools as well. Is they're definitely a step up from
Sure.
a public school, but and we're not speaking about all Christian schools. Obviously we don't know about all of them, but just the ones that we do have experience with, they're not too much different.
Yeah.
There's a lot of the same problems that Dan really saw in the public school. It's the same worldly issues that they're struggling with, and they just slap some scripture on top of it and say we'll pray about it. But it's still the same types of issues. And it still goes back to what Dan just said, is we really feel like scripture is very clear that you are to raise your children, teach them in your home, and that you're supposed to do it all day long. When
you stand up, when you sit down, when you're walking on the way.
That you should be. So we really always kind of go back to Deuteronomy 6 and just feel like that's where you just need to remember that God, he tells over and over again in scripture to teach your children these things. And you can't, we were finding just the little bit of time that Isabel went to school, that there were so many things I wanted to teach her and she was never home. And homeschooling allows you to be able to teach them every single moment you're training. And you're able to teach them skills, you're able to teach them things that you would learn, in a traditional setting like reading and writing and math. But there's so much more to life than that.
Right.
And then you can't do that when your children aren't with you.
And that alone just makes you want to have them at home so you can teach them instead of someone else teaching them, because it's rewarding for you and for them to see, oh, hey, they learned that from me. Hey, they picked that up from doing life together at home. And
Well, plus, I mean, children by nature are learners. They want to learn. They pick up on things, and they're going to be getting somebody's values. We just want to be our values.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like
There's
biblical
nothing that they
values.
should be.
Right. So that was a really big, it became a real driving force as time went on.
And I would say something that we have tapped into, we've kind of gone back and forth on this, is we have done traditional homeschooling where you just apply, tell the state that you're homeschooling, and then you basically tell them, or you commit to teaching a certain number of hours to your children in a year, which is, you can do that in like half of a year. It's not very much at all.
Sure.
And then there's nothing else really that you kind of have to prove in Wisconsin. We have wonderful homeschooling laws. But then something else that we've tapped into over the years is there's also virtual charter schools that you can be a part of. And those are advantageous if you can find the right ones. Some of them have a lot of requirements, a lot of hoops you have to jump through to keep the state kind of happy. And in exchange for you participating in the virtual charter, then they get tax dollars for you, and then they will give you some of that back, where they will order curriculum and pay for like music lessons, or they'll pay for like YMCA memberships, or just different things that will kind of help, like tennis lessons, whatever, things like that, supplement your learning. And so we've utilized those over the years, but you have to be very careful, because some of them, there are some Christian ones which are excellent, because then you can buy any kind of Christian curriculum you want. And there's other ones that are secular, and then they won't pay for quite as much of the things that maybe you'd want to take advantage of. But those can be helpful. You just have to be really careful about the ones that you choose, so that you're, we like to just, we figure we're paying tax dollars, so we want to get something back. You just have to play it carefully, so that you're not ending up committing to doing all of these tests and proving all these things you're doing every week, and it ends up becoming so burdensome, nobody wants to do it. And I understand why they have to do it for the state requirements, but it has been helpful then to be able to purchase some things over the years that we wouldn't have been able to afford. Like more really expensive foreign language curriculum or something, where I would have just been like, well, we're just not learning foreign language. That's too much money. So some of those things that, or our children were always able to take music lessons, because they would pay, and whatever instructor that we wanted would pay them for private music lessons. So we've been able to kind of utilize those, but we've been very careful about the programs that we participate in and don't participate in.
That's cool. Yeah, I knew some friends that did homeschooling for a little bit, and then they did kind of like private school and then private Christian school. And it was really sad, because a few of them walked away from the faith and really completely rebelled against their parents. And it was so sad to see that in that environment. And that's kind of originally where the question came from, of like, if someone doesn't want to homeschool or can't homeschool, is there something else out there?
Okay, so our next question was, well, it's mainly from me to Paige, but it's, what's your advice to like a mom like me who has no prior experience with homeschooling, but I want to pursue that for my kids? So what would be your advice?
Yes. So the first thing I would say is that as a mom, I think that you are already educating your children, like your daughter, and then the baby that you're even pregnant with now, you're already teaching them. It's just natural as a part of you, that as you are like walking around the house, you're talking about colors, you're saying animal sounds, you're identifying objects, you're teaching skills, like after you go to the bathroom, we wash our hands, or can you help mommy carry this to the table? Like you're teaching things already naturally. And so it just makes sense that when just because the age of your children turn this magical number that our country has said you start going to school, doesn't mean that you really have to send them to school. That's when learning
starts. Flip the switch.
Yeah, they've been learning since, I mean, when they come out, they recognize your voices, and like you calm them just by your voice being near them. And so you're already training your children. And so it's just it's just this artificial number that has been kind of placed that you should send your children away from you then, because somehow you've done an inferior job for the first 5 years, and now someone else should take over. But really, nobody knows your child better. Nobody wants what's best for your child more than you do.
That's right.
And so you're already have every skill that you need. And another thing that a lot of people in the beginning said to me was, oh, well, you just like, that's fine for you. You can do that because you were a teacher and you were trained in this. And honestly, that was a hindrance for me to have gotten a degree in education, because then I was under the belief that I had to like recreate a classroom setting in my home. And it was a nightmare. It did not go well at all. And it was so much better when I just continued to educate the way that I had already been parenting all along anyway. And that's when homeschooling became just this beautiful dream of like every day was so fun.
That's awesome.
When I stopped trying to recreate the classroom at home. So as long as you just continue on doing what you have been doing anyway, that just comes natural to you, that you those kinds of skills, and then you just start adding in things that books you bring from home from the library, and start doing things in the kitchen and experimenting and going on nature walks and taking the binoculars out and drawing what you're seeing, and just there's so many ways you can tie it in. It's just it's just become something that's so natural that you don't need any skills. And I would also say that because of the time period that we're homeschooling, it's so easy because you have so many resources at your fingertips. Like the library, you don't even have to have the book at the library. You can use the interlibrary loan and get books from anywhere. And you can look things up. There's so many helpful videos. And you can tap into resources too. Just even, like I was saying, foreign language before, you can find a native speaker in a different country and you can hire them to teach your 16-year-old a foreign language. There's just so many ways that you can utilize technology as well without planting your child in front of a screen all day long.
Sure.
That you, I just feel like it's never been easier. With that though, I would say another piece of advice would be don't neglect to reach out to those moms who are further along than you, who are homeschooling.
Sure.
And you have a great resource in your mother-in-law. And
Yes.
but there's so many people who we're blessed to be in a community where there's a lot of homeschool families. And to be able to tap into those moms who are just a little bit further down the road, who can kind of guide you and say, this is kind of where I started. And here's some other moms. Let me help you get connected and plugged in. We're blessed to have a homeschool group that met weekly, sometimes bi-weekly in our community. And it not only was a wonderful place for our children to have all these built-in friendships, have plenty of people to make up a full team so you could play football or soccer or any kind of sport that you wanted to play, you would have more than enough for a full team. But then at the same time, when the children are playing and doing activities together, then there's all these moms who are homeschooling. And so it's a perfect opportunity. You can talk about curriculum. You can talk about something your child's doing that you're struggling with and get advice, or something that you found great success in and encourage the other moms. And so it's just when you are willing to go outside, get connected with community, tap into other moms who are further along than you, and know that God created you to educate your child, to use your husband and his skills to help educate in the areas that I wasn't going to be teaching, that he shines in, that I don't excel in, to be able to use the two of you together to educate your child. You have everything you need. And then just to trust that God will fill in all the gaps you miss. Public schoolers have tons of gaps. And it's fine if homeschoolers do too. God will fill in every single gap, and he will provide just what you need for each child when you need it. So you don't even have to stress about it. You don't have to stress about the finances. Like most of your schooling you could do completely for free. There's so many free resources. And just in the beginning, they just need to play anyway. Just reading to them, playing, getting outside, taking fun little adventures. Even going to the grocery store is an adventure. So
teaching them things around the house.
Skills around the house.
The Bible and the character and all those things. You don't need to be trained to do those things. You're going to do them anyway.
Yeah, I think that's something being public schooled like made me fear. Like, I think when I picture homeschooling, I think I have to have a classroom set up like hour by hour, like we work on the same subject, like being a plain teacher almost like I used to growing up.
Don't do that.
And I'm like,
that's what I tried. It was awful.
But then my mind would go to, how do you do that for every age? Like, I'm like, I think I could do that if I just had one kid. But I mean, there always used to be one-room schoolhouses or like, homeschooling way back then. All the kids would learn together.
Yep.
I'm like, if they can do it, then I can do it.
You absolutely can. That's what we did too, is I would taught. And I know I only have 2, but they're almost 4 years apart.
Mm-hmm.
And I taught them together.
Yeah.
And you just tailor it for their age
Yeah.
level. You know, this one might be writing several paragraphs while this one's still working on just dictating and I'm writing those sentences down. You know, like you can, but you're still studying the same thing together.
Yeah.
Sure.
That's super cool. I feel like then it makes your kids closer too.
They are that's one of our pros. They
Yeah.
are so close.
When it's really awesome too, because you can tailor it to that child
Yeah.
and how you see their strengths or their weaknesses. You can kind of come alongside and shift some things around. Where a public school, you can't do that. It's cut and dry. Every kid's the same.
Yep.
Move them out.
Yep.
Yeah.
So,
Whether they learn it or not,
yeah.
you're moving on.
This question is kind of for you, Dan. What would you say was your role as a father in supporting and being involved in your children's homeschooling education?
Well, I mean, you mentioned, I think, some things where I would come in and provide some assistance when it came to like the education itself. But by and large, it was Paige who did most of that. And so I think the first thing that was important for me to learn was to have complete trust and faith in her that she was doing it well, and that my role was to be a support, to be an encouragement, a listening ear, like when things weren't going well, to help try to brainstorm when there were problems, in term, thinking about just when you were trying to do even like the standard school day, and like, what can we do to solve this? This is not working. So you're there as a supporter, as an encourager, be a really active listener to try to apply your own problem solving skills. And it's really important to know what's going on, like what they're studying, what they're learning, because that allows you to be able to come in and have conversations and do learning alongside them. We were talking earlier about a road trip that we did that was kind of a culmination for their study of civics and U.S. history. And so me being there with them to talk to them about different things. And I was a part of the education, just not every moment of every day the way that you were.
Sure.
And so I think a lot of homeschool dads will say, like, I'm the principal, and when they're in trouble, then, I mean, I guess there's times where I would come home, you need to talk to your daughter.
Guess what your son did?
Yeah, exactly. So that kind of stuff would happen. But mostly it's to support and trust. And I trusted Paige implicitly, and I still do, with everything education related.
And you took the burden off because you were the sole provider. So I could focus on homeschooling and he would work, and I knew that I didn't have to figure out how we were going to feed our family.
Sure.
He would work, and then my job, because it was a full-time job, would be to educate the children. And then you also were integral in like giving me, I did a lot of my own curriculum planning and stuff. So he would give me time where he would take the children on the weekend and give me a half a day to a day where I just do big chunks of planning. And so he would have like his dad time with the children, and they loved that. And then it gave me the space of the quiet house to be able to do a lot of planning. I could get a couple weeks planned out, and that was extremely helpful.
Yeah.
And then when they got older,
I was going to say, it's been so long since that happened. I kind of forgot about that.
Well, then when they got older, I handed off math to him because he has a math degree.
There you go.
And I was like, okay, I am done with
with it.
math. My brain only went through Algebra 1. I couldn't remember anything past that, even though I went much higher than that in high school. I was like, I didn't have to use this, so.
Yeah.
Yep.
We've already mentioned this too, but something that it took me a while to wrap my mind around is like every moment is teaching.
Sure.
Every moment you are discipling your children. Every moment. Every conversation you have, when Isabella's helping me in the garden, when Noah and I are doing something in the garage to get, like, whatever, every moment you're teaching. And so it's not like these are homeschool hours, you're the homeschool teacher, I'm the guy that goes to work. It's you can't compartmentalize it. The decision to homeschool is a family decision. You know, you're the primary kind of facilitator of that, but that doesn't mean that I'm not involved. It doesn't mean that don't care, because every single moment is a discipleship and a teaching moment. And the sooner that you figure that out, the more smoothly it will go.
And the more you take advantage of those moments too.
Oh yeah, and view every moment in that light. Right. That because your children are always watching, they are always listening, and they are always learning from you for better or for worse. So.
Which is really convicting too. You know, you say for better or worse, and we've already noticed our daughter picks up on a little bit of that stuff, and we're like, oh.
Yeah, she's just starting to mimic. Like, you know, if I hug the teddy, she hugs the teddy. And I'm like, wow, like she's noticing.
Yep.
And or like routines. She knows what's next in the day and stuff. And I mean, it's super cool. How kids are just natural learners. Like, I'm like, how do I like force her to learn? I'm like, she's probably gonna want to learn.
Yes,
even if you start. I've heard some people start, you know, kindergarten homeschooling like when they're 6 or 7 or something, and then they just absorb it all in like 2 months instead of like a year. I'm like, maybe I can, you know, take some more time just letting her be, you know, a kid, and then introduce the curriculum later. I don't know, but.
And you said it too, how we're natural learners, and same with our kids. You know, there's no difference in them, and so I have no fear that you're going to do well. It's just going to take time, and
Well, our next question I'm interested in is your pros and cons homeschooling. Sounds like there's so many pros.
Oh my gosh.
How much
I know.
time do we have?
It's like, oh boy, I have so many pros.
Spitfire.
I
Sit
think
back and listen.
Well, I think my biggest one is that you can prioritize the Lord, and it's not like I know sometimes when people are in public school, it's like we go to church on Sunday and then the rest of the week we don't really think about the Lord. But with homeschooling, God is the focus of everything. So we are able to incorporate him into every aspect of learning. So when we're outside, we're doing science, we're on a nature walk, we just are marveling at God's creation. And we can talk about every little thing. Like, why do you think God decided to make this fern this way? And isn't this amazing? And look at God bless us with this today. And and there's this new thing growing that he made. And let's discover what's inside of this. Wow, he put a seed in this? This is brilliant. Like, you know, there's every single piece of curriculum you are able to talk about the Lord, and it's not like this separate thing. So we started every single day with Bible and prayer time together.
I just interrupt you really quickly and add one thing? I was thinking about, you were talking about mainly integrating God into everything when they were younger, but I think about it too as they've gotten older, and how you can, every conflict they have with a friend, every television commercial that they see, or a book that they read, or a song that they hear, you can have conversations with them about, how does this line up with what we're learning about God's word? What does this tell us about people? What does this tell us about how we should live? And so being able to just have those conversations all the time was valuable when yes, exactly. It's natural. I've found incredible value in that as they've gotten older.
Right. Because the foundation was already set.
Right.
So it wasn't something that they're like, why are you asking me this?
Right.
Because we've been talking about this all along. So been able to prioritize the Lord and have him be a part of everything. So it's just natural. And then we can prioritize our family, and then we can prioritize our church and our service within like the homeschool community and our church family, and then prioritizing, you know, community and things like that. So really having that foundation where we feel like those are the priorities in our life anyway. That's a huge pro of homeschooling. It also, it's your time. So it's your schedule. So like I know, Joel, you were saying you don't work on Fridays. Well, that is amazing because you can school 4 days a week and you get an extra day where you get a family day. And that's no problem at all. Like you just, because you're on your own schedule. So you figure out how are you going to work in your curriculum that you want to accomplish in those 4 days. It's not a problem because you don't need to do 8-hour school days.
Or maybe Friday is the day you're teaching your children about drywalling.
Right.
Running wire.
Starting out.
That's exactly it.
Seriously.
Yeah. Because then dad's home so he can train them on the things that they're excited about learning that you're like, well, I don't actually hang drywall, so that's a Friday project. But I will work on crocheting with any of you who would like to learn to crochet on Friday. We're going to set aside time for that. You know, so you have these extra, you can just work it in your schedule. Like we were saying, before he used to have all of July off. And so we would actually do a regular school year calendar where we'd follow his school calendar. So when he had the holidays, we took breaks from school.
Sure.
And then we would make a lot of accommodations. We did school 5 days a week, but we had so much involvement in our homeschool community that we weren't really home that often. We were often gone more than home. So what we would do is then we would do school basically all year, but it looked different. So the calendar school year when he was actually at school, then that would be like more of our traditional, like we're going to do school, but we're also going to, you know, go and do activities with our homeschool co-op. And this friend called and they're going to do a field trip down here. So we're going to go with them and whatever. It would just go and learn and do kind of how the day went. But then in the summer, we would still do school, but it would be half days and we would do like a whole unit on different cultures around the world. And we would like take one every week and we'd study them and we'd like make food from them and we'd play games from them. And, you know, we'd do something different, but they were still learning.
Sure.
And it wasn't as serious kind of, I guess, way more flexible. And then we would take all of July off. And then sometimes I would want more time off in August. I just wasn't quite ready for that, for school to start. And our children, as soon as August hit, they would just start begging, can we do school? Can we do school? When is school going to start? Because they loved it so much and would get so excited about it. So so what I'm saying is that you can make it flexible for your family.
Sure.
And that flexibility has continued as our children have gotten older too, because now that Noah is working, he works 3 mornings a week on quote unquote school days from like 6 to noon. So he gets 6 hours of work in, he comes home, he has lunch, and then he does school. And he
sometimes he has to work a little bit in the evenings, but
and on the days when he is not working early, he just gets up first thing and he just starts doing school. And so having that flexibility has continued as they've gotten older too. So it's the family flexibility, but also for them as individuals when they start working or doing other activities or whatever that they're doing as they get older.
Wow.
And then another pro is you never have homework. So you're not spending your entire evenings watching. You're trying to get your children to do their homework.
Sure.
Because they're doing their school during the day and there is not homework. And if you don't finish something, that's fine. They'll just be there the next day.
Right.
As long as you're actually working diligently and not, just wasting your day, then, so that's a huge pro. Being able to be in the Word so much and use it to train our children. So anytime that anything comes up when you're homeschooling, you're right there to address it. So if you have just discovered that your child is lying to you about something, you can address it right then and there. You can take them right to the Word. You can talk about it. You can then start, maybe we want to work on some verses that talk about what the Lord thinks about lying and what maybe some examples in Scripture and the blessings that come when we tell the truth. And then you can pray with them right then and there. You can just take care of things immediately as they happen.
Yeah.
You can take care of sibling issues immediately and have them work on that right in front of you. It also causes your family to be incredibly close. So our children are each other's best friends. And we are also really purposeful about creating community for ourselves, but for our children. So you get to almost handpick their friends because you're setting up, we were doing Christian homeschool co-ops. So you're getting together with these co-ops, but then you're also forging these friendships where you're maybe inviting them to do other things. So they have good, solid peers around them who are reminding them of these biblical values that their families value as well.
That's awesome.
And then we get to be friends with the moms. Usually it ends up the moms are super good friends, and then we introduce the husbands.
Yeah.
And
True.
then,
It's already true.
Yeah, it is.
yeah. And then, like, well, when I'm sending my child to this person's home, I know they're Christian, they're homeschooling, their values. We've done life together, so you can feel comfortable having them go over and play, or you taking their children. You just have this built-in support system and community.
Yeah, I think a big thing, like being public schooled myself, I don't know, I held to my like values pretty well, and I didn't hang out with like the wrong crowd. But I'm like, how easy it is to learn stuff. Like, I heard so many things that I was like, what does that mean? Like, and
nobody's there to tell you.
just things that repulse me to think about, like my daughter going and learning or seeing or hanging out with these people.
For sure.
And I'm like, oh my, like
Yeah.
how did my mom trust? But I mean, she thought that's what you do, is send your kid to public school. But yeah, now knowing about homeschooling, I'm like, oh, I can't imagine sending her away and not knowing what she's going through. And
Well, and some people will say, like, well, your children are sheltered, and they're not sheltered. They're
Not at all.
exposed at an early age to truth, and they know things that are correct, you know, and you're not exposing them to things that are inappropriate for their age.
Right.
And you're telling them in a way that's honoring the Lord. It's at an appropriate time. You know your children best.
Yep.
And so they're not sheltered by any means.
Yep.
No.
They're very well aware of what's happening in the world, but they're
grounded.
and they're shielded from having to be exposed to that over and over again, but they're not ignorant of what's happening.
And that's a big thing with public schools is a lot of young kids get exposed to things that they don't know about at a young age, that they don't know how to decipher. They don't know what to think about it. They don't know how they feel about it. And usually parents aren't there to even know that went on, that happened at school.
Yeah.
And so then you can't come alongside them and teach and inform and, correct if that is needed.
it's a lot of absorbing things and
Yeah.
not ever talking about it.
Yes.
It's kind of become where, this is broad generalization, but kids at public school are being forced to grow up very, very fast and learn things that they're not ready to learn when they're 7 years old.
Right.
And then that's when they kind of start adolescence. And then when they're 30 years old, they're still an adolescent because they have no work ethic, they have no character, they have no ability to go out and do things and be what a normal adult should be.
Right.
Whereas when you homeschool, you can have conversations about things at times when they're ready. When it's a normal time of development to be having the hard conversations, you can talk about things all through their adolescence, and then when they're ready to be adults, they're ready to be adults. Like they have the character, they have the work ethic, they have the skills to stand on their own 2 feet right away.
I've noticed that even because I was in public school and all I heard was homeschoolers are weird, antisocial, and so I just bought into that lie. And every homeschooler I've met, I'm like, this is the most mature, like, you said your son's already doing college stuff and he works a job, and usually they're getting married younger, and they're just like the most level-headed, mature people, and they know how to talk to like all different ages, and a lot of public schoolers are just super, I don't know, they just come out like tunnel vision, and
I think that's another pro for homeschooling is that people say like that going to school is normal, but it creates this artificial environment where they're all shoved together with children of the same age, and there's like this unhealthy competition with all these other ages. And even if you talk to someone younger or older than you can be made fun of, and that's weird while you're talking with them. And that's not how it works in the real world. I mean, you're working with all different ages of people. You need to be able to get along and work together. And so that's the brilliant thing about homeschooling is we didn't know the Lord, so we only have 2 children. We wished we had known the Lord because we would love to have had a whole house full. But because we only had 2 and we were part of these co-ops, they were able to play with children of all ages. So even to this day, it's not unusual to see our 16-year-old playing with like the 2-year-old at church and, whipping him around.
And he does that because you did that with him.
Mm-hmm.
That's exactly it. Is there was
When
older
you were
children.
older, you
Yep.
included him, played with him, made him
Yep.
feel welcome and loved, and now he's doing that for younger kids.
Right. And so they're used to playing. I mean, in your own home, if you have a lot of children, they're going to be used to all sorts of different ages and they all pitch in and help, which is another advantage of homeschooling.
Free labor.
Right, exactly. And, but even if you don't have a lot of children, if you get involved with other groups, then they just get to know, and there's no hostility, and there's no, I mean, most of them don't even know what ages the other people in in their friend groups are.
Just know
Most of
they're
them
my
don't even know
friend.
what grade they're in.
Right.
So it makes for a lot less issues, I feel like. It's just more of a natural environment, and
Yeah.
it's just easier than to transition into real life.
Yeah. Sure.
I would say another thing that was a big pro for us is it developed in our children time management and discipline, self-control, because when they were younger, I was doing all of the planning, of course, and kind of setting our schedule. But as I got older, I would say, okay, these are the things we need to do today. And like, you get to pick what order that you want to do them in. And we can see how long it takes us to get through these, but these are the things that we have to get through this day. And then they really manage their time well, especially if they have a motivation to go to some sort of an activity with friends. But it really helps them to be able to budget their time, to be disciplined, to make sure that they're, working hard on the tasks that you've given them, especially if you've given them some independent ones.
And I would imagine that would be the opposite in public school. You know, from what I've heard, because I haven't gone, but there's a bell that you have to be in a certain classroom at a certain time. And so you don't have to do any thinking, because as soon as you hear a bell, it's like, oh, I just have to go there. You know, it must be this time. It must be this, or, my whole day's planned out for me, instead of letting the child do some of the work and planning and like, okay, if I do this really, really fast and I do this really well, then I get to go and do this. And
Yeah.
I think there's also the advantage of then you can have more time to pursue things that each child is interested in. So if it doesn't take the entire day to do your school.
Sure.
So you have this time, and if they're passionate about something, I know you and your brothers earn money. You guys started raising chickens.
we did.
Selling eggs and learned all about business. I mean, so it's perfect for entrepreneurs. It's perfect for anybody. I mean, just to be able to, everybody's got some kind of passions that they're excited about. I know for a while Isabella was really interested in photography. So, got a camera. She would go out and take all sorts of different nature pictures and just experiment, set things up in the house and take pictures. And so you have time to explore those things and decide, is this something that I'm really gifted at and that I really enjoy, or is just maybe a hobby that I'll just kind of do on and off. It gives them an opportunity to really be able to explore those things. I also think just the being able to run a home, being able to take care of themselves. I mean, when I graduated from high school, I literally did not know how to cook a meal or do my laundry. So my mom had just done that all the time when I was gone for school and sports.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wasn't home to do any of that stuff. I was hardly ever home. And so I went off to college and I had absolutely no idea how to do anything but open a can of something or pour a bowl of cereal. And I just brought my laundry home because I had no idea how to do any laundry. And my children can run our house by ourselves, do things, Dan's taught them how to do things like outside of the home and card type things and fixing things. And, and they can do their laundry, they can cook meals. It allows for hospitality because we have a lot of people in the home. So to learn how you have guests and how you prepare food and converse with them, not hide in your bedroom
On your phone.
Yeah.
on your phone.
We totally noticed that when we came to your guys' house.
We
I
did.
was like, wow, they're so, like, their kids are just as hospitable as them. Everyone was greeting us and listening. And, even if we weren't asking about, like, them questions for, like, hours, they were just absorbing what we were saying. I felt so appreciated.
It was really awesome.
It's because that's just what they've done
Yeah.
forever.
Yeah.
It's normal.
Well, and homeschooling gives you life skills too. And so
Yes.
instead of popping out after high school and being like, hey, I don't know how to do laundry, that might be some part of the day where you're like, hey, I got to do 5 loads of laundry today. I guess, you're going to learn how to do laundry because you're going to be with mom.
Yeah.
And,
That was me. Like, I was joking. I didn't know how to start the oven until I was, like, in high school.
Yes.
Well, I mean, when we first got married, it was like cans of baked beans and
Frozen pizza.
yeah.
Huh.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that as a insult to you. I'm just
No.
saying that you weren't trained.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
on
Whereas
how to
like
do those things.
Isabella makes all of our bread and
Wow.
you know, like
Yeah.
just things that you can just pass off to your children and they
Yeah.
can be there.
They enjoy it. It's awesome.
Yeah.
Love it. Yes, absolutely. So do you have some other pros that you're, I mean, we could probably go on and on, but anything else that
Yeah, I mean, just the one that keeps coming back to me is just the idea of discipleship and treating every moment
Hmm.
as you're training your children.
Yeah.
And then I think the other, not the only other, but another pro is like you see the fruit of your labor in front of you when you see your children grow and develop, when you nurture them through their mistakes, when
Yeah.
like all these things. And that's a part of parenting in general, I think. But I think a lot of times in my experience with people who have their children in public schools, there comes a time where like, whoa, my kid's all of a sudden like going to graduate next year. Like, what happened?
Yeah.
But when your children are with you, you just see this tangible growth day after day, year after year. And I've found it to be incredibly rewarding. Like to just watch our children grow in their knowledge of the Lord and walking with Him. Certainly more faithfully than we did when we were younger, and just to be able to see that there is no pro that outweighs that. To just know that your children are walking with the Lord is
That's awesome.
that reason alone
is enough?
is enough.
For sure.
Yeah.
And I know we didn't really talk about this, but are there any cons in your mind about homeschooling?
Yeah, I was going to say that the only cons I could think of would be if there's things that you neglected. Like if you neglected to leave your house and connect with other families,
Yeah,
I think
that'd
that would
be
be
a
a really big con. I know that we do know a couple of families who have tried to do that,
Isolated. Yeah.
very isolated, and their children are not thriving, and neither are they as a, as a homeschool mom. And I think that would definitely be a big detriment to your children. And I think the other detriment would be if you just try to recreate the classroom environment in your own home.
Sure.
It's, it's like back with what you said, when the bell rings, you just went to the next subject. Like if you run your school like that and, you're like, oh, we have 5 more minutes and we got to get this done. We're not done with this. And we got to switch subjects. That's stressful.
Yeah.
Nobody is going to thrive in an environment like that. And when we do school at home, you don't have to. If it takes you, 45 minutes to do whatever lesson you're working on and you only have 10 minutes left to do this other thing you'd planned to do, then that's fine.
okay.
Just carry it over the next day. You don't have to stress about it. Or if you get this curriculum and it doesn't work for your family and you're 2 months in, that's fine. Just get rid of it and try a different one that works better. Just not being so rigid and also not isolating would be the two things that I would say would be cons.
Yeah.
I couldn't think of anything that I would say would actually be a con. I guess if you really, really were a diehard about sports and you wanted your child to have like a sports scholarship, well, you're going to have a hard time because your child can't play high school athletics.
Well,
But I mean,
even from my point, like I played high school athletics and I was homeschooled. And so that was super cool for me because I was the homeschooler that came after hours. And the only thing I had to be like enrolled in a class, but other than that, I could just join the sports. So I did play, football through all of high school. And so I think that would be something that maybe the parents aren't trying enough to, get their kid into sports if they're diehard sports fans. Because, I did it and I was homeschooled and
there's ways around it.
exactly.
Yeah.
And there's hoops
Certain
you
school
can jump
districts
through.
are a little kinder about
Yeah.
letting you
It's true.
participate and not participate. So
Yeah.
I like how you mentioned they're kind of self-inflicted, like cons though.
they really are.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
if you aren't purposeful about, and I mean, we had children who would not have even if I had the personality, which I don't, they would not have let us stay home.
No.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
I was like, why? This is a misnomer that this is named homeschooling. This is not, we're never home.
No.
Yeah.
One of the things that just came into my mind, and this is not a con, I don't even know if it's a caution, but I think a lot of people view it as a negative, is like, oh, what will people think of us?
That's true.
Like, oh, people are going to think we're weird. And I will say, first of all, in my experience, most of the time, maybe people are just being polite, but they're more curious. They're like, really? Like, you work in a public school and you homeschool your children? Like, yeah, absolutely. Let me tell you why.
I remember thinking that.
Yeah. And so, like, yeah, I mean, so it opens the doors to conversations. So don't let fear of what people think about homeschooling or what people are going to think about you be a detractor. That was a huge detractor for me at the get-go. Right? I mean, that was probably the biggest hang-up I had. Like, people are going to think we're nuts.
And that's okay.
And that's okay. I mean, now that I'm much older and more confident in our family and our walk with the Lord, I don't care what anybody thinks of us. You know, this is what's best for our family. I have a duty as a husband to my wife, to our children. We have a duty as parents to raise our children so that they're walking with the Lord. That's what matters.
And I hope we look different from the world anyway.
We want to look different. Exactly. Yes.
And really, we always just go back to anyone who's been critical about us homeschooling, because we still have lots of people speaking into our lives who are critical. I just go back to, like, look at the fruit. Like, you know, just you can look at our children, look at our family, look at the fruit.
Come
And
over for
then
dinner,
if you
hang
still
out with our
think,
children.
if you still think that this is really bad fruit, then all
know what
right.
to do for you.
Yep.
That is so
Speaks for
totally true.
itself.
Yeah,
exactly.
exactly. You don't have to say anything. You don't have to
Yeah.
argue with them. Just, okay, let's wait a few years and just see what you think.
Yeah. Wow.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, even from being homeschooled, I don't think there's any cons other than self-inflicted ones. Like, I loved it, and I was homeschooled all of my life, and like I said, I really enjoyed it, and it was tailored to me. Like, I would not have done well in a classroom at all.
Oh, yeah. No.
I am such like a...
Our son either.
Yep.
He would have
Nope,
been
he would've-
put on like ADHD.
Yeah.
That's what we
say
say
all
about
the time.
Noah.
Yep.
He was just like
he's
you,
got
Joel.
ADHD.
I think
and
every
like,
boy is kind of like that though, and they're
They're
supposed to be.
meant to
That's what I
sit
say.
and
You are not suffering from ADHD. You're suffering from being a boy.
Yeah.
Being told to sit in a desk and not move all day
it's so
long.
inappropriate.
Yeah, I've heard public school is more geared towards girls, like you
Where
know.
they want you calm, cool, and collective. Well, boys need to do something. They need to
Yes.
get out. They need to run. They need to fix something with their hands. They
Yep.
need, you know,
Your mom
find-
used to have you run around the
Oh,
house
yeah.
like 3 times,
Yeah.
and like come back to do it.
if I was too fidgety, she's like, go run. And I'd go
Yeah.
run laps around the house.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
but
No one
it
can-
worked. Like,
Yes. And then you can, come back
I
in
used
and
to do read alouds for them.
yeah, that was
and-
one of my favorite things.
Yeah, and Noah would play basketball or whatever.
I usually would read aloud
And-
outside all year round.
And he'd remember every word.
And if I made him sit, he could not. He wouldn't pay attention. And I
Wow.
discovered it because he wasn't grasping things that I was teaching him because he was sitting. And then he was reciting every single thing I had just taught Isabella.
Because
It
he was up and
we were doing
playing.
math. And he had been then playing like with the I think there was like tangram pieces or whatever. He was just playing with the different toys I had out for math. And I was teaching her lesson. And he was reciting every word for word, everything,
Wow.
single thing that Isabella and I had done. But he couldn't tell me a single thing from his own math lesson.
Wow.
And so that's when I started changing. And so we did his school basically on the move. And if he could be moving, he would retain every single word. He's an amazing auditory learner.
Wow.
And he would retain every word if he could just be moving when we were doing it. Now he could sit still like nobody's business. But you know what I mean? Like when he was younger, or like holding a pencil. To hold a pencil and write was torture for him. And he was old before I stopped having him dictate. His people would say, like, well, he can't write. And I was like, he can write amazing stories. He's so creative. And they were like, well, you're writing them. I'm like, well, I'm putting pen to paper.
Right.
But
That's his
he's
writing.
saying
Right.
exactly
His
what. And
ideas.
I would have him say, like, capitalize this letter, put a period here. There needs to be a comma. And so I would just write word for word. But it was too much for his dexterity to get his thoughts out on the paper. Now he's a fabulous writer. So you just make those like little accommodations. It's not there's something's wrong with your child. It's an inappropriate skill at that age for certain children.
And, right, every child is
I
different.
mean, Isabella was like handwriting, basically calligraphy by the time she was like 2. You know, like just totally different child.
Right.
You know, just so
crazy.
yeah, just another.
And putting him in the public school system would just completely ruin that. Because, you know, you'd have one angel child and you'd have one that needs to be on all these things and so many problems and get
Principal's
help.
office, all
Yes.
Yeah. And just it's so cool how homeschooling, you've turned that around, and now you see the fruit of it.
Yeah.
And now you see how, like it did pay off. It wasn't the most, straight path way to do it,
Never is.
but
Yeah.
we're there, and like you said, your kids now are fantastic readers and writers, and that's awesome.
Yeah.
So-
I feel like our last question is, what's your greatest joy of homeschooling?
I loved every single minute of homeschooling. And don't get me wrong, we've had tears, lots of tears at points when things are hard and, they want to give up, and you want to give up some days. You see the bus go past and you're like, it would be so easy. But it is the most rewarding. It's so, and there's just we didn't have children to send them away from us.
Right.
It just doesn't make sense that you would have these sweet little children and then you don't get to spend any time with them. And I get to spend every single day with our children. It's like the greatest gift in the world. And I still, even though mostly, our son is doing college classes now, even though he's still in high school, there's still some things we get to do together. And he's right in the kitchen next to me. And so we're talking all the time, and we're talking about his subjects, and we're debriefing after he does go to college class and comes home, and it's crazy stories. And so we're even just like processing right then and there. So even though my role has changed, I'm still with my children all the time. I love it so much. It has made our family incredibly close. The way that we homeschooled is actually my most favorite. It just worked for our family, but we did more of a thematic, like project-based school for them. Until they got to the upper grades where we had to, hit certain standards so they can actually graduate. And so every day we had literature-based learning. So everything kind of revolved around books and theme. So usually our theme was around some time period of history. And all of the subjects then kind of went into that. So all of our, whatever, if we were studying like westward expansion, then all of our books that they would read on their own, that we would read together, all of the projects that we were working on, everything was around that one theme. So we did math obviously separate, and then science was usually separate as well. But the rest of our subjects that we studied all day long were in this context, so they all fit together and made sense. And there was so much reading that we would spend a lot of the day just like discovering. We did a lot of hands-on things. Like we would constantly come home in the kitchen, would just table would
Samples
be
of
covered.
apples. And
Yeah, we would go to the store and buy like
every kind
30
of
different
apples.
variety of apples, and we would like sort them by color. We cut them open and like check the seeds and make apple prints with them, and we would go apple picking, and we would learn all about apples and the history of apples and how do we get all these varieties. And
Wow.
yeah, we just did a million different things with everything that we had. Like just even different things, like we would like learn how to churn butter, or we learned how to make ice cream, or we, like just all these different things. We just studied different cultures, and we had a lot of interesting meals, and we would eat them in whatever way the culture ate them. So we'd have some on the floor with interesting things we were using to eat them with. Or
True.
anyway, it was just like total immersion. And so every single thing we did was so fun. We did a lot of stuff outside in nature. But we had all of our subjects kind of together. So we were learning together. And then the whole afternoon of every day, unless we had an activity to go to with friends, would be reading, and it would be a part of our curriculum. So whatever we were studying, and I would read aloud. And so we would go outside, and they would make up obstacle courses and run obstacle courses, or Isabella would be doing like her color by number, and Noah would be
Like basketball.
or in the summertime we would have a swing set, and we had a sandbox and a mud pie kitchen. So they'd be making all sorts of food and playing, and
While they were listening.
hours just sit outside and read. And in the winter, if it was too cold, they would do like Legos.
Puzzles.
I know a big thing in your family, Joel.
Oh yeah.
Puzzles, playing with different math manipulatives, different Play-Doh, just painting, anything that they wanted to do that wouldn't distract them from what we were reading.
Listening.
And they learned they can still remember
They still
books
talk
that
about
I
the books.
read when they were 5 and 9. They can remember details from stories that we read.
awesome.
Some of their favorite books were
It's true.
those time periods. So they retain stuff so well, and just like the way that I learned just as much as they were learning, and every day I just tried to make fun, and so that they have this great love of learning, and now they can teach themselves anything because they love to learn. They don't want to stop learning. They love to read.
How to learn.
Right.
Yes, they love to read. Sometimes we have to take books away when they were younger because they wouldn't do anything, because they would just go and read.
Yeah.
What a problem.
I know. We were like,
Made me think of another pro too. We talked about like the time being flexible, but when compared especially with public school, there's so much wasted time in the day. So much wasted time.
Yeah.
yes.
Passing times and wasted times in class periods. Well, we're not going to start that. We've only got 10 minutes left. You guys just sit and talk until the bell.
Do you want to know how many times I play Heads Up 7-Up?
Yes!
Yes, it's just wasting time.
I think every public school.
Yes.
Whereas,
Our children had no idea what Heads Up 7-Up was.
yeah, so I mean, obviously, the days were different, but like if you needed to be done by noon,
Yeah.
it could be done by noon.
Yeah.
You know, and do whatever. So yeah, the flexibility, but just it's the more efficient use of the time and more productive use of the time.
And they know so much more
Oh, yeah.
than
Oh.
public schoolers. Like, I think the only thing that some people are question is we didn't have the schedule where like the public school has, okay, in 5th grade you learn these math concepts, you learn these English concepts. Like, we didn't do that,
They just
obviously.
learned when they were ready.
Right.
Yeah. So, but now their knowledge base is so much greater. I mean, Dan was even talking about how there's a lot of public schoolers who don't even read one entire book in a school year.
Yep.
I mean, our
would say
children were
most
reading
don't.
multiple full books in a
A
month.
month.
I mean, that would be ridiculous. They would have books for, I mean, I don't even know how many books we would read in a school year. It was hundreds.
Yeah. Right.
And I think you miss out on, like, public schoolers don't get that love of learning that homeschoolers get. I just felt like I'd cram everything in my brain, take the test, and forget it. Like,
Right.
and, you know, your mindset in public school is always, when am I ever going to use this? Like, everyone always says that about math and science, especially.
I mean, Noah still asks me that question.
Yeah.
And most of the time the
Algebra
answer is
two,
like,
he's
probably
like,
never. You're probably never
when am I gonna use
answer
this?
that.
Yeah, usually that is the answer. But
for the most
I
part.
think it was just more of like a burden, like, oh, I have to learn this new thing. Like,
Yeah.
it was never fun to learn.
Right.
But
And another thing too that I loved was you get to be outside.
Yes.
And public school, where is it? It's indoor. It's in a facility. You know.
a prison.
Yeah, it
much.
is. And I loved being outside, especially during like the winter months. And you know, that was part of our curriculum. You know, get outside.
days.
Yeah. Learn and learn new skills and everything. So
Yep.
Yep. And I think another one of my biggest joys is I got to be the one who taught my children those things. I got to see them learn something and get it for the first time. Teaching your children how to read and just thinking like a week ago, they couldn't put these sounds together and make sense of them. And this week, they're reading this little book. This is incredible.
Yeah.
And then just to see how quickly then that
Yeah.
they excel and they're reading longer books, and just to be able to be like, wow,
Yeah.
Lord, I can't believe I just taught them that. That's amazing. Like that.
Well, this
yeah,
is-
just their excitement to learn, and that you get to be there for those. It's like when you see your daughter walk for the first time.
yeah.
You know, like you don't want her to have her first time being able to read a word or a sentence at school and you missed it.
Yeah.
You
For
want to be there
sure.
for it.
Yeah. A joy of mine as dad is seeing how much throughout their entire childhood and to this day, our children love their mom. That's not a super common thing for public school kids to like love and treasure their mom.
And get that excited when their dad comes home from work.
But I mean, you kind of think the opposite. Like I'm with my mom all day, we get sick of each other, but it's the polar opposite. The bond that they have with you as mom, you know, and I mean Isabella now becoming her mother, which is phenomenal. But you know, and Noah just being tender towards you and just loving you, and that's been a real joy for me is to see how much they love you as their mom.
Well, and then they get to see you at your best and at your worst, and they get to see you lose your temper and get frustrated and be
And
human.
then you can model asking for forgiveness.
Exactly. And that's something that's so beautiful, because then they can see you admit that you messed up, and mom has to apologize now and make this right. And so then they're learning the skill right then and there that this is an important life skill, and that when we do life together as a family, we are going to sin, and we're going to need to ask for forgiveness and repent and hopefully get forgiveness. So then they can actually have a good relationship with you as well.
Yeah. I think something that was hard for me to understand was, like, how am I going to be mom and their teacher? Like, are they going to respect me? But now I'm learning, like, as their mom, you are their teacher already. So it's not this, like, I think I asked you that. I was like, did you, like, have respect for your mom, or, like, listen to her when she, you know, told you to do your work?
And I was like, I'm pretty sure they were like the same, you
Yeah.
know. But I don't know how to put it into words,
There's
right?
no division
Because you have to
between.
be like Mrs. Jones at school, and you're not like crying to your teacher or giving them hugs or something. There's no mom there,
Right.
and so I thought you had to divide that, and all of a sudden be like, I'm laying down the law. But
I mean, it goes back to the idea that every moment you're teaching.
yeah,
Every moment.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
That's another pro. You get to snuggle them all the time. You snuggle in when you read.
You're gonna want to quit your job.
Yes. Fridays.
Yep.
Fridays are
There
baby
we
dad
go.
day.
Yeah.
Yep.
Perfect.
Or writing it in.
Yep.
Is there anything you do differently, you think, looking back?
I think the only things I would change is I would have homeschooled right from the get-go. If we had known and been on the same page about that, I would have never, ever sent her to public school. It was kind of funny, though, I guess, and the Lord works everything out, because in hindsight, I remember if Noah would start to act up, Isabella would go, Noah, stop. She should have sent us away to school. And he'd be like, okay. And she was like, you don't want to go there. So I guess that was kind of ended up being a pro. But I would have just be like your family did, just homeschooled all throughout, so that you have no idea even what public school is like, or in school. And then just, like I said before, I wouldn't have tried to recreate the classroom in my home. And I think the only other advice I would say is, especially in the beginning, I really stressed, I was, kind of, again, going back to that mindset of public education and, well, how am I going to know that I'm doing enough? And so I would really stress, like, we have to finish this curriculum and we have to get this much done. And that was so unnecessary. I mean, you're never not learning. So it's like, if you don't get through a curriculum, or you don't finish all of the things you planned on doing that day, it's fine. You just do it the next day, and you don't have to stress about it. And so if I could go back those first couple of years, I really stressed. And I know that at least Isabella had remembered that, because then once I stopped stressing, like the third year in, she would say stuff like, we need to hurry up. We got to finish this, and I'd be like, it's fine, sweetheart. You don't need to worry about it. We're just going to do it tomorrow.
They're always watching.
Yes. But it took a while to kind of undo that cycle that I had put in her, because then she would get really worked up that we need to get this finished. And so I would definitely do that different and just say, don't stress. They're going to learn what they need to learn. They'll be fine. I mean, you don't want to be completely lax and not actually ever do school, but there's a happy medium.
Yeah.
And they don't need to be stressed out about it.
For sure.
Yeah. That's good advice to me, because I can get pretty, I feel like, regiment.
I'm the same exact way.
Yeah.
So learn from my mistakes.
I love your guys' story so much, because you've been in the public school system, you've been a principal, and yet you homeschool your kids. I tell people that all the time, like, I have this friend, and he, has been in the public school system, but he homeschools his kids. And that's just a true testament to, putting your kids in what actually matters and wanting what's best for them. And so I just want to thank you guys so much for coming on the podcast. And
Yeah, thank you.
It was our pleasure and honor.
Yes, it was. Thanks so much for having us.
Thank you to our viewers for watching. If you want to, please go check out our website, growingasafamily.com. You can see Clarissa's blog there. It is amazing. You can also listen to our podcast, as well as subscribe to us on all the platforms. And with that, we will see you next podcast.
Yeah. Bye.
Bye.